Hi, my name is Stephen Edwards and I'm doing a Real Chef collaboration with Real Kombucha. The kombucha that I've chose to pair with is the Dry Dragon. Now the reason for that, it's really nice and citrusy and works perfectly, I believe, with cheese. The cheese I'm using for the dish is camembert, got some lovely vine tomatoes and spring onions, and I'm going to do, almost like a forgotten dish, I'm going to do a lovely homemade quiche. Quiche, I think when it's done right, is really tasty and lovely, and you're going to love this recipe. So first things, we're going to need some of our short crust pastry, which I've just got rested quickly in the freezer. It's not frozen, it's just rested. And we're going to make our basically a tart case. So here, I'm just going to give this a quick spray with grease spray. You can just use butter paper if you wish. So just a little bit of flour. Basically by turning the pastry, we're trying to make a circle so it fits nicely in the tart case. Just trying to keep those edges nice and together as well. So as I'm rolling it out, I've got my oven on 200 degrees, nice and hot. Also got some tin foil ready to blind bake the pastry, and also some baking beans. These have been used a couple of times, just any beans. You can even use coins if you want. Whatever you've got to weigh down that pastry while we blind bake it. And we don't want to go too thin on the pastry either, like we normally would for a tart. We want to have the pastry almost as one of the stars of the show on this dish. And again, making sure we're working quickly so the butter doesn't start to melt in the pastry. This part I'm just going to set back, and we're going to use that to press the pastry into the case. And once we've got it to the desired thickness, just going to roll it with a rolling pin. Into our tart case, like so, and just adjust it if we need to. Just being careful, it is quite delicate in this stage. Now we're going to gently press it into our tart case, lifting up the edges of the pastry. And then using a little bit of the trim, which we could just roll in our hand, push it there into the corners. What we want to do as well is just create a little lip around the top. We want to get as much filling in there as possible. That's, again, the best bit about a quiche. Lots of filling. So moving our pastry with one hand and then pressing it into the bottom of the case with our other. Going to do this all the way around. And then, like I said earlier, I'm just going to pinch it up at the top. So we can get as much filling in there as possible. going to get a small knife, just give it a quick trim all the way around. Not too much, because the pastry will shrink when we bake it in the oven. Tin foil into our case. Can use baking paper if you wish. It's literally just a barrier between the pastry and our baking beans. Here. Make sure we fill it up to the top and make sure the beans are pressing down on that foil. So oven's on 200 degrees. We're just going to blind bake the tart now for 10 minutes. Our pastry is still a little bit soft, but the beans have done the job. They've weighed it down and given us a nice outline of the tart. We're going to cook it for another 10 minutes now, just to seal that completely. And while we're cooking it for the next 10 minutes, we're going to make our quiche filling. So for my quiche filling, really simple way of doing this. I just do a 3-2-1, using duck eggs as well. Chicken eggs are hard to come by, but I love duck eggs, nice and rich in the yolks. So doing 300 egg, 200 double cream, and then finishing it with 100 of the milk. I'm going to give this a nice little mix up. And now we can start preparing our filling. So we've got some lovely spring onions. I love spring onions. Not as harsh as shallots or red onions, but especially this time of year. Basically got cheese, onion and a tomato quiche, but just pimped up a little bit with the camembert and vine tomatoes. Just going to take the outside bits off, using a sharp knife then. Just going to chop these down. Then got our tomatoes. Now with these, I just want to do nice slices. Just cutting them into 4. And the cheese. As much as I want to use a whole camembert, thinking half will be plenty. Now with this, we're just going to break it down. Into chunks. So when we build our quiche, it's just be melted in little pockets. Also, I'm going to get a little bit of parmesan as well, which we're going to grate over the top. Right, our quiche has actually had longer than 10 minutes, it's had about 15 minutes after I removed the bacon beans. Take it out of the oven now. Lovely crispy pastry. Oh. Still a little bit hot. Right. Now for the filling. I said our tomatoes. Normally, like the way I've done it before as well, you can mix all your ingredients in with your egg. Now what I'm going to do, just to try and get as much in the quiche as possible, I'm going to do the filling, I'm going to put it back in the oven, and I'm going to fill it. Because this is always a difficult bit as well when you're moving your egg into the oven. So we're going to fill it in the oven. So tomatoes, a lovely cheese, and there as well. I think half was enough, very generous. Then our spring onions. We've done a little bit too many of those, but I can use those up in a little salad to accompany. A little bit of salt. And also, we can now season the quiche mix. I don't do it at the beginning, I don't want the salt to break down the eggs too much. So salt in there. Quiche, now ready to go back in the oven, still on 200 degrees. And now with my mix, just going to bring it out slightly. And I'm going to fill the quiche like so. Now push the quiche back in gently. And then we're going to cook it for about 20 minutes, just until the eggs have all set. Right, the quiche has had, I said 20 minutes, actually had about 25 minutes. Let's go check on it now. Now that is looking gorgeous. Nice and browned. Like I said, important, keep the oven at 200 degrees. And all we're checking on there as well, the way I checked it, I'll just give it a little wobble, or even just feel the top. You can feel that egg's cooked all the way through. Just going to leave it on here to cool down. While it's cooling, just going to grate a little bit more cheese, why not? Over the top. I'm going to leave it to cool for about 10 to 20 minutes. Then I'm just going to trim up the edges, do a nice slice, and enjoy it with a nice drink of the kombucha as well. Right, now the quiche has cooled down, I'm just going to trim the edges with a nice sharp knife. This bit's going to get a little bit messy. Just want to do it on a slight angle. Just taking away those top bits that we put on there earlier. And this pastry is really quite short, so be careful, but once we get it out of the tin, it's going to be worth it. Right, so that's our trimmed up quiche. Now the moment of truth, just to gently remove the outer case. Slide it onto the board. There we have our quiche, still a little bit warm, and then we're going to serve that with our real kombucha as well. Got one chilling down in the fridge, really important, it's served nice and cold. So there we have it, there's my fancy cheese and tomato quiche, a little bit of spring onions, fine tomatoes and camembert, served with real kombucha. Please enjoy this recipe.